My daughter calls me every night at 9:30 asking if I'm alone. Last night, I lied and said my neighbor was over playing cards. This morning, I found fresh pry marks on my bedroom window and size 11 boot prints in my flower bed. That lie saved my life. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me back up and explain how a simple phone call from my daughter turned into me discovering someone had tried to break into my house while I slept. It started 10 months ago, right after New Year's. My daughter Rebecca called one evening around 9:30. "Hey mom, just checking in. Are you alone tonight?" I thought it was sweet. I'd been widowed 3 years by then, living alone in the house Henry and I bought in 1985. The house in Cedar Falls, Connecticut, white colonial, blue shutters, the kind of place where you raise your kids and grow old together. Except Henry had a heart attack at 61, and I'd been rattling around in 4 bedrooms by myself ever since. "Yes, sweetie, just me and murder," she wrote reruns, I told her. "Murder," she wrote. Angela Lansbury solving crime. If only I'd known I'd need those detective skills myself. "Okay, just wanted to make sure you're safe. Love you, Mom." "Love you too, honey." That became our routine. Every single night at 9:30, Rebecca would call. "Are you alone tonight, Mom?" And I'd say yes, because I was always alone. At 64, my social calendar consisted of book club every other Thursday and grocery shopping on Wednesday mornings. Not exactly a whirlwind lifestyle. I didn't think anything of it. She was being a good daughter, checking on her aging mother. That's what I told Barbara, my neighbor, when she commented on it during our morning walk. "Every single night?" Barbara raised her eyebrows. She's 62, sharp as a tack, retired schoolteacher. "That seems a bit excessive, Carol." "She's just concerned," I said. "Since Henry passed, she worries." Barbara gave me that look, the one that says, "You're being naive," but she didn't push it. I wish she had. The calls continued through winter, spring, summer. "Are you alone, Mom?" Every night. 9:30. Like clockwork. I started setting my watch by it. Then, 6 months ago, Rebecca announced she and Mark were moving. "We found a house just 15 minutes from you, Mom. Isn't that great? We can see you all the time." Mark. Her husband. I need to tell you about Mark Thompson, because that man is the reason I'm standing here today instead of lying in a morgue. Rebecca met him 2 years ago on some dating app. She was 36, divorced from her first husband for 3 years, working as a nurse at Hartford General. She deserved happiness. When she brought Mark to Sunday dinner that first time, I wanted to like him. He was 41, tall, nice smile, worked in property management, whatever that meant. Shook my hand firmly, complimented my pot roast, asked intelligent questions about Henry's furniture restoration hobby. He said all the right things. But something felt off. Call it maternal instinct, call it paranoia, call it whatever you want. When Mark looked at my house, really looked at it, his eyes assessing the crown molding, the original hardwood floors, the location, I felt like he was appraising it. Not admiring it. Appraising it. They married fast. 6 months after meeting. Rebecca said, "When you know, Mom." She was glowing, happy. I kept my doubts to myself. You don't tell your daughter her new husband gives you the creeps. You smile and buy them a KitchenAid mixer and hope you're wrong. That was June 2023. By January 2025, she started the nightly calls. And now they'd moved close to me. "So we can help you, Mom," Rebecca said. "You're getting older. What if you fall? What if something happens?" I was 64, not 84. I did yoga 3 times a week and could still beat most people half my age in a brisk walk. But I didn't argue. Having my daughter nearby sounded nice. Except the calls got more specific. "Are you alone tonight, Mom? No visitors? No one staying over? You'd tell me if someone was there, right?" Why did she need to know so precisely whether I was alone? Last night, October 30th, something made me lie. Maybe it was the edge in her voice. Maybe it was the way she'd asked the same question 4 times in different ways. Maybe it was just instinct. "Actually, Barbara's here. We're playing Scrabble." Silence. Then, "Oh. That's nice, Mom. I'll let you go then." She hung up fast. "No, love you. No, have fun." Just click. I sat there staring at my phone, and for the first time, real fear crawled up my spine. Why did it matter so much that I was alone? I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., I got up for water and happened to glance out my bedroom window. That's when I saw it, a dark figure moving along the side of my house, testing the windows. My heart nearly exploded. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, pulled back from the window. The motion sensor light in the backyard clicked on. The figure froze, then ran. I heard a car start down the street and speed away. I called 911. The police came, took a report, found the pry marks on my window frame and boot prints in my flower bed below. Size 11. Fresh. Made sometime between midnight and 2 a.m. You're lucky you weren't asleep when they tried the window, Officer Martinez told me. Looks like they were trying to get in quietly. This morning, I examined those pry marks in daylight. Fresh metal scratches on my window frame. Someone had tried to jimmy it open while I slept. If I'd been asleep, if I hadn't been awake from anxiety about Rebecca's phone call, would I have woken up in time? That's when it hit me. The nightly calls asking if I was alone. Rebecca's insistence on knowing exactly who was in my house. Her strange reaction when I said Barbara was here. Mark moving them 15 minutes away 6 months ago, right when the calls started getting more insistent. I stood in my flower bed, staring at those size 11 boot prints, and my daughter's husband's feet flashed through my mind. Mark Thompson wore size 11. I knew because I'd bought him shoes for Christmas. The question wasn't whether someone had tried to break in. The question was why. And why did my daughter need to know every single night whether I was alone? Rescued injured birds and volunteered at soup kitchens, ended up married to a man who might be trying to kill her mother. Rebecca was always my miracle baby. I had her at 26 after 3 miscarriages. Henry and I had almost given up hope. When she arrived, healthy, screaming, perfect, we promised we'd give her everything. And we did. Dance lessons, college education, support through her messy first marriage to Kevin the accountant, who turned out to be more interested in his coworker than his wife. When that marriage ended, Rebecca was 33, devastated, convinced she'd never find love again. I told her what my mother told me: the right person will come when you're ready, not when you're looking. She threw herself into work at Hartford General, picked up extra shifts, built a life. By 36, she seemed content. That's when she met Mark Thompson. She showed me his profile picture on her phone, blushing like a teenager. "Mom, he's different. He's stable. He has his own business. And look, he loves hiking and classic movies, just like me." I looked at the picture. Mark had that all-American look, sandy brown hair, strong jaw, easy smile. He looked normal, successful, safe. Their first date was at an Italian restaurant in Hartford. Rebecca called me after, breathless with excitement. "Mom, we talked for 4 hours. He asked about my work, my family, my dreams. He really listened. Do you know how rare that is?" I was happy for her. After Kevin's betrayal, she deserved someone who paid attention. The courtship was intense. Within 2 weeks, they were seeing each other every day. Within a month, Mark had a drawer at her apartment. Within 3 months, he proposed over dinner at the same Italian restaurant. Isn't it fast? I asked gently when she showed me the ring. A nice diamond, modest but elegant. "You've only known him 3 months, sweetie. When you know," she said, using that phrase that would haunt me later. "He's perfect, Mom. He treats me like a queen. He makes me laugh. He's financially stable. He wants kids someday. After Kevin, I thought I'd never find this." What could I say? She was a grown woman, nearly 37. If she wanted to marry him, I'd support her. Henry would have grilled Mark harder, asked tougher questions about his business, his family, his past. But Henry was gone, and I was just trying to be a good mother. The wedding was small. August 2023. Rebecca wore my mother's veil. Mark's family was conspicuously absent. His mother had died years ago, he said, and he was estranged from his father and brother. Red flag number 1, but I ignored it. Lots of people have difficult family relationships. His friends seemed normal enough. His business partner, Dave, gave a nice toast about Mark's work ethic. Everything seemed fine. I danced with my new son-in-law at the reception, and he thanked me for welcoming him into the family. "Take care of my girl," I told him. "I will, Carol. I promise." The first few months seemed happy. Rebecca glowed. They bought a condo in West Hartford, decorated it together, posted cheerful photos on social media. I saw them for Sunday dinners once a month. But I noticed things. Small things. The way Mark steered conversations away from his past. How he'd tense up when Rebecca mentioned finances. The way he'd check his phone constantly, then dismiss my questions about work with vague answers about property deals. In December, 4 months into their marriage, Mark started asking questions about my house. "This is a great property, Carol," he said during Christmas dinner, walking through my living room like a real estate agent. "Original hardwood, good bones, excellent location. What do you think it's worth?" "I don't know," I said, uncomfortable. "Henry and I bought it in 1985. The market's changed so much since then. You should get it appraised. Properties in this neighborhood are going for serious money now. This is probably worth $650, maybe $700,000. Rebecca frowned. Mark, that's Mom's home. She's not selling. I'm just saying, it's a valuable asset. She should know what she has. He smiled at me. For estate planning purposes. Right, Carol? Estate planning. I was 64 and in perfect health, and my son-in-law was already thinking about my estate. That's when the first whisper of unease started. But I pushed it down. I told myself he worked in property management, of course he noticed real estate values. It didn't mean anything sinister. Then, in January, the calls started. Hi Mom, just checking in. Are you alone tonight? At first, it was sweet. Then it was every night. Same time. Same question. And Rebecca seemed almost anxious when she asked, like she needed to confirm it. Why do you always ask if I'm alone? I finally asked one night in March. I just want to make sure you're safe, Mom. You're living by yourself. If something happened, who would know? Logical. Caring. But something in her voice sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced the answer. In May, they announced the move. We found a house 15 minutes from you, Mom. A beautiful Cape Cod with a yard. Mark found it, it's a great deal. Where did he find it? I asked. Through his property management company. It's a foreclosure. We got it for way under market value. Rebecca was excited. And now we can help you more. Mark can handle repairs on your house, I can drive you to appointments, we can have dinner together all the time. I should have been thrilled. My daughter, living close by. Instead, I felt watched. They moved in June. And that's when things got strange. Mark started showing up unannounced. Just in the neighborhood, he'd say, standing on my porch. Thought I'd check if you need anything fixed. He'd walk through my house, examining things. Your gutters need cleaning. I'll do it this weekend. That window seal is cracked. I should replace it. Your back door lock is old. I'll install a new one. All helpful. All invasive. And Rebecca encouraged it. Let him help, Mom. He's good with his hands, and you shouldn't be climbing ladders at your age. So Mark fixed things. And I watched him study my home like he was memorizing blueprints. One Saturday in July, I came home from book club to find Mark in my basement. Rebecca let me in, he said quickly. I was checking your water heater. It's pretty old, you should think about replacing it before winter. He'd been in my basement alone. Going through my things. And Rebecca had given him a key without asking me. That night, I called her. Honey, I appreciate Mark's help, but I'd prefer if he called before coming over. Mom, he's trying to help you. Don't you trust me? There it was. The guilt trip. The subtle suggestion that my discomfort was the problem, not her husband's boundary violations. Of course I trust you, sweetie. I just like my privacy. Well, if you fall down those basement stairs and no one finds you for days, don't blame us for trying to help. The tone. Sharp. Almost angry. That wasn't my Rebecca. I started noticing other changes. She'd lost weight. She seemed tired, on edge. When I asked if everything was okay, she'd snap, I'm fine, Mom. Stop worrying. But I couldn't stop worrying. Because every night at 9:30, my daughter called to confirm I was alone. And now her husband had a key to my house. And I'd catch him staring at me sometimes with an expression I couldn't read. Last night's lie, telling Rebecca that Barbara was here, had been instinct. Self-preservation. Some part of me knew that if I said I was alone, something bad would happen. And I was right. Someone tried to break into my house. Someone with size 11 boots. Someone who knew I lived alone because my daughter confirmed it every single night. I sat at my kitchen table this morning, staring at the police report, and faced the terrible question, was my daughter involved? Or was she as much a victim as I was about to become? After the police left this morning, I did something I'd been avoiding for months. I called my daughter's first husband, Kevin. I know what you're thinking. Why would I call my daughter's ex, the man who cheated on her and broke her heart? Because Kevin the accountant might be a lousy husband, but he had one quality I desperately needed right now, he noticed details. Kevin answered on the third ring. Carol? Is everything okay? We hadn't spoken since the divorce 3 years ago. I need to ask you something about Rebecca, and I need you to be honest. Silence. Then, what kind of something? Did Rebecca ever talk to you about money? About my house? About what I have? More silence. Why are you asking me this? I told him everything. The nightly calls. Mark's obsession with my property. The attempted break-in. The size 11 boot prints. Jesus Christ, Kevin breathed. Carol, listen to me. A few months before our divorce, Rebecca asked me to look into your finances. Said she was worried about your retirement. She wanted to know about the life insurance from Henry, the value of your house, your savings. My stomach dropped. When was this? About 3.5 years ago. I told her it was none of our business, that you were financially stable. She got angry, said I didn't care about her family's security. I thought it was just stress from her mother's recent widowhood. But now. Now what? Now I'm wondering if she'd already met Mark. The timeline would fit. She might have met him before she told anyone. Carol, I hate to say this, but what if he targeted her because of you? The room tilted. What are you saying? I'm saying Mark Thompson might have researched Rebecca specifically because her mother is a widow with assets. It's a con as old as time. Find someone vulnerable, someone with a parent who has money, marry and fast, and then. He didn't finish. And then what, Kevin? And then the parent has an accident. The daughter inherits. The husband is suddenly very wealthy. I couldn't breathe. My own daughter. My miracle baby. Could she really be involved in a plot to kill me? There's one more thing, Kevin said quietly. When Rebecca served me divorce papers, she made a comment that stuck with me. She said, I'm not going to end up struggling like my mother did after Dad died. But you didn't struggle, Carol. Henry left you comfortable. So why would she say that unless she felt entitled to more? After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen for an hour, thinking. Henry had left me $500,000 in life insurance, plus the house, which was now worth about $700,000, plus my retirement savings of another $300,000. $1.5 million total. If I died, Rebecca inherited everything. And if Rebecca inherited everything, Mark had access to everything. I needed proof. I needed to know if my daughter was a victim being manipulated or a participant in attempted murder. I called Barbara. I need your help with something, and you have to promise not to tell anyone. You're scaring me, Carol. Good. We should both be scared. I told her everything. Barbara, bless her, didn't waste time with disbelief. What do you need? I need someone to watch my house tonight. From their car, across the street. I'm going to tell Rebecca I'm alone. I want to see if anyone comes. Carol, that's insane. If Mark is trying to hurt you, then I need evidence. The police found boot prints, but that's not enough. I need to catch him in the act. No. Absolutely not. You need to stay somewhere else. Let me call my nephew, he's a detective in New Haven. We'll do this properly. But I was already dialing Rebecca's number. It rang twice. Hi Mom. Her voice was bright, normal. Too normal. How are you feeling today? Did you sleep okay? Did I sleep okay? After someone tried to break into my bedroom. I didn't sleep well, actually. I kept hearing noises. Noises? What kind of noises? Was that concern or curiosity in her voice? I couldn't tell anymore. Probably just the wind. Old house, you know how it is. Maybe you should come stay with us for a few days. Just until you feel safer. Stay with her. In the house with Mark. That's sweet, honey, but I'm fine. I'm actually having a quiet night in. Just me and my book. You're alone tonight then? There it was. The question. 9:30 would come eventually, but she was asking now, at 2 in the afternoon. Yes, just me. Barbara had to cancel our plans. Oh. Well, make sure you lock all your doors, okay? I will, sweetheart. Love you. Love you too, Mom. I hung up and looked at Barbara, who was staring at me like I'd lost my mind. Tonight, we find out the truth, I said. But the truth, as I was about to learn, was so much worse than I could have imagined. By 8 p.m., I'd set up my trap. Barbara was parked across the street in her son's SUV, watching my house. I'd positioned my laptop in my bedroom window with the camera on, recording the backyard. My phone was charged, 911 ready to dial. And I'd done one more thing, I'd gone through every document in my home office. I don't know what I was looking for exactly. Some sign that Rebecca had been planning this. Some evidence that would tell me whether my daughter was a victim or a villain. What I found was worse than either option. Hidden in my filing cabinet, behind old tax returns, was a manila folder I'd never seen before. Inside, photocopies of my bank statements from the last 2 years. Photocopies of Henry's life insurance policy. Photocopies of the deed to my house. And a handwritten note in Mark's handwriting. I recognized it from the Christmas thank you card he'd sent. The note said, house, $700,000. Life insurance, $500,000. Retirement, $320,000. Total, $1. 52M, need minimum 6 months establishment. Timeline, summer 2026. Summer 2026. That was 8 months away. My hands shook as I photographed every page with my phone. Mark had been in my house, going through my files, planning this for months. He had a timeline. 6 months establishment, probably to make sure he was firmly entrenched in Rebecca's life, beyond suspicion. And there, at the bottom of the folder, was something that made my blood run cold, a printout of Connecticut's inheritance laws. Specifically, the section about spousal inheritance rights. If Rebecca inherited my estate and then died, Mark as her husband would get everything. I sat down hard on my office chair. This wasn't just about killing me. This was about killing both of us. Mark Thompson was going to murder me, make it look like an accident, let Rebecca inherit, and then kill Rebecca. He'd be a grieving widower with $1.5 million and no witnesses. I thought of Kevin's words, what if he targeted her because of you? Mark had researched Rebecca. Found out about me. Courted her with the single goal of accessing my money. And my beautiful, trusting daughter, still wounded from her divorce, desperate for love, had been the perfect mark. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. This man had looked at my daughter and seen only dollar signs. He'd married her as part of a murder plan. But was Rebecca involved? Did she know? The note was in Mark's handwriting, not hers. The research was his. But those nightly phone calls asking if I was alone, those were from Rebecca. Was she unwittingly helping him? Or was she a knowing accomplice? At 9:15, I texted Barbara, in position? Ready, she texted back. Carol, I really think we should call the police now. Not yet. I need to see who comes. At 9:30, my phone rang. Rebecca. Hi Mom, just checking in. Are you alone tonight? My daughter's voice. The voice that used to call me from college, excited about a good grade. The voice that told me she was getting married, glowing with hope. Yes, honey, just me. Quiet evening. Okay. Lock your doors. Love you. Love you too. I hung up and waited. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it. Outside, darkness fell. The street was quiet. Barbara's SUV sat across the street, dark and innocent looking. At 10:45, a car pulled onto my street with its headlights off. I texted Barbara, you see that? Yes. Stay away from windows. The car crept slowly past my house, then parked 4 houses down. A figure got out. Tall. Male. Moving through shadows toward my backyard. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and started recording video through my bedroom window. The motion sensor light was off. I disabled it this afternoon, wanting whoever came to feel safe approaching. The figure moved along my fence line, testing the gate. It was locked. He hoisted himself over, easily, athletically, and dropped into my backyard. Even in the darkness, I could make out his build. Tall, broad-shouldered. Wearing dark clothes and a black beanie. He moved to my bedroom window. The same window someone had tried to pry open last night. My phone was recording. Barbara was watching. This was it. The figure pulled something from his pocket. A crowbar. He wedged it against the window frame and pushed. Carefully. Quietly. Trying not to make noise. I should have called 911. That was the smart thing. But I needed to see his face. I needed to know. I flicked on my bedroom light. The figure froze. Turned toward the window. And in the flood of sudden light, I saw him clearly. Mark Thompson. My son-in-law. Crowbar in hand. Breaking into my home to kill me. We stared at each other through the glass for one frozen moment. His face shifted from shock to rage to calculation. Then he ran. I called 911 as he bolted across my yard. Someone's trying to break into my home. He's running toward Cedar Street. White male, 6'2", dark clothing. Barbara's SUV engine roared to life. She pulled out, following the direction he'd run. But Mark was fast, and by the time police arrived 12 minutes later, he was gone. But I had him on video. Clear as day. Mark Thompson with a crowbar, breaking into my window, caught in the act. That's your son-in-law? Detective Anderson asked, watching the video on my phone. That's him. And your daughter calls every night to confirm you're alone? Every single night for 10 months. Detective Anderson exchanged looks with his partner. Ma'am, I need to ask you a difficult question. Do you believe your daughter is involved in this? I looked at the video of Mark's face frozen on my screen. I thought of Rebecca's voice on the phone, asking her nightly question. I thought of the note in Mark's handwriting, the timeline, the inheritance research. I don't know, I whispered. But I'm going to find out. Detective Anderson convinced me to stay at Barbara's house that night. If Mark knows you caught him, he's desperate, he said. Desperate people do desperate things. At Barbara's dining room table, at 1 a.m, I finally called my daughter. She answered on the first ring. Mom? What's wrong? It's so late. Mark tried to break into my house tonight. Silence. Long, terrible silence. What? I caught him on video, Rebecca. With a crowbar. Breaking into my bedroom window. The same window someone tried to pry open last night. That's impossible. Mark is. He's right here. He's been here all night. My blood ran cold. She was lying for him. Put him on the phone. He's asleep, Mom. I don't understand what you're, Rebecca and Williams, do not lie to me. Put your husband on the phone right now, or I'm coming over there with the police. More silence. Then, muffled sounds. Whispered argument. Finally, Mark's voice. Carol, I think there's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I have video of you with a crowbar trying to break into my bedroom. That wasn't me. It was absolutely you. The police have the video. They're issuing a warrant for your arrest right now. His tone changed. Hardened. You don't know what you're doing, Carol. You're an old woman living alone. People might think you're confused. Senile. Seeing things that aren't there. The threat was clear. He'd claim I was mentally incompetent. The video is clear, Mark. Your face. Your build. Your car parked 4 houses down. My car? You mean the gray Honda? Rebecca, doesn't your mother's neighbor Tom drive a gray Honda? He was already building his defense. Planting doubt. And my daughter hadn't said a word. Rebecca, I said, forcing my voice steady. Are you there? Honey, please tell me you're not involved in this. Mom. Her voice was small. Scared. I don't know what's happening. Mark says you've been acting strange lately. Calling him at odd hours, asking weird questions. He's worried about you. I'd never called Mark at odd hours. I'd barely spoken to him outside of Sunday dinners. He was gaslighting both of us. Rebecca, I need you to listen carefully. Mark has been researching my finances. I found documents in my home office, photocopies of my bank statements, insurance policies, inheritance laws. He has a timeline planned for next summer. He's going to kill me, let you inherit, and then kill you. What? Mom, that's crazy. You sound crazy. I sound crazy? Someone tried to break into my house 2 nights in a row. Someone who knew I was alone because you tell him every single night when you call to ask. I call because I care about you. Or because Mark asked you to find out when I'd be vulnerable. Silence. Then Rebecca said something I'll never forget. Maybe you should see a doctor, Mom. This paranoia isn't normal. She'd chosen him. My daughter, my miracle baby, had chosen her husband of 2 years over her mother of 38 years. Fine, I said. The police will be in touch. When they arrest him, maybe you'll believe me then. I hung up. Barbara put her hand on my shoulder. She's being manipulated, Carol. This is what abusers do. Or she's complicit, I said flatly. I don't know which is worse. At 8 a.m., Detective Anderson called. We have a problem. What problem? Mark Thompson has an alibi. His neighbor says Mark was home all last night, helped him jump his car battery at 10:30. Right around the time someone was breaking into your house. That's impossible. I have video. The video shows a man breaking into your house. But facial recognition software says it's not a match for Mark Thompson. Similar build, similar clothing, but different facial structure. I stared at Barbara in disbelief. That was him. I saw him clearly. Ma'am, the lighting was poor, you were under stress, and he hesitated, you're 64 years old. Vision issues are common. The video quality on phone cameras at night isn't great. We're going to keep investigating, but unless we get better evidence, I can't arrest him. Mark had an alibi. The video wasn't clear enough. And now everyone would think I was a paranoid old woman seeing threats that didn't exist. He planned this, I told Barbara after I hung up. He made sure someone would vouch for him. He probably paid that neighbor. Or, Barbara said gently, it wasn't Mark. Maybe someone else is trying to break in, and Mark just happens to be a creep who went through your files. But I knew it was him. I knew he was trying to kill me. And I knew I had to prove it before he succeeded. That's when I made a decision. If the police couldn't help me, I'd have to help myself. I went home that afternoon with Barbara hovering nervously. The house felt violated now. Mark had been here, going through my things, planning my death. I went to my home office and pulled out the manila folder. This was my evidence. Proof that Mark Thompson had researched my finances, knew my assets, had a timeline. But when I opened the folder, my heart stopped. It was empty. Every document I'd photographed yesterday, the bank statement copies, the inheritance law printout, the note with Mark's handwriting and timeline, was gone. Someone had been in my house while I was at Barbara's last night. Someone had removed the evidence. I checked my phone. The photos I'd taken of the documents were gone too. Deleted. All of them. I felt sick. Mark must have remote access to my phone somehow. Or maybe Rebecca did, I'd given her my password years ago for emergencies. They'd erased everything. The physical evidence, the digital backups. It was my word against his now. I sat on my office floor, surrounded by empty folders, and realized the horrible truth: Mark Thompson was smarter than me. He'd planned for every contingency. And I'd walked right into his trap by confronting them too soon. Barbara found me there an hour later. Carol? Oh God, what happened? He took it all. The evidence. Everything. Barbara, I don't think I'm going to survive this. She pulled me to my feet. Yes, you are. Because you're not alone, and you're not crazy, and we're going to nail this bastard. But we need to be smarter. How? By giving him exactly what he wants. I looked at her. What are you talking about? Barbara's eyes were hard with determination. We're going to make Mark Thompson think he's won. We're going to let him believe you're vulnerable, confused, and isolated. And then we're going to catch him in a trap he'll never see coming. Barbara, that's dangerous? Absolutely. But what's more dangerous is waiting for him to make his next move. Carol, he's killed before. I froze. What? While you were sleeping this morning, I did some research. Mark Thompson changed his name 12 years ago. He used to be Mark Tillman. And Mark Tillman's first wife died in a tragic home invasion in Michigan in 2015. He inherited $200,000. The room spun. He's done this before. He's done this before. And he got away with it. Which means he's going to keep trying until he succeeds. Unless we stop him first. Barbara's nephew, Detective James Anderson, came over that afternoon. Not officially, this was family business, he said. He sat at my kitchen table and showed me his research on Mark Tillman, now Mark Thompson. His first wife was Susan Tillman, Detective Anderson said, sliding a printout across the table. A smiling blonde woman, 32 years old. They'd been married 18 months when someone broke into their house in Grand Rapids. Susan was home alone. The intruder stabbed her 7 times. Took her jewelry, some cash. Police called it a robbery gone wrong. But it wasn't, I said. Mark had an airtight alibi. He was at a work conference 2 hours away, dozens of witnesses. Susan's death was ruled a homicide by person unknown. Mark collected her life insurance, sold the house, and moved to Connecticut 6 months later. Changed his name, said he wanted a fresh start after the tragedy. And then he found Rebecca. Detective Anderson nodded grimly. He's what we call an opportunistic predator. He finds vulnerable women with assets, marries them quickly, and orchestrates their deaths to look like accidents or random crimes. He's probably done it more than twice. Why hasn't he been caught? Because he's patient. He establishes himself for months or years. Builds alibis. Makes sure he's never physically present when it happens. In Susan's case, he probably hired someone to do the actual killing while he was visibly somewhere else. The same thing he's doing now. I thought about the figure last night, too similar to Mark but with slightly different facial features in the grainy video. He hired someone to break in. That's why the facial recognition didn't match perfectly. Exactly. Mark's too smart to do it himself. He hires someone who looks similar enough, makes sure he has witnesses placing him elsewhere, and if the killer gets caught, there's no connection back to him. Barbara leaned forward. So how do we prove it? We don't, Detective Anderson said. Not with traditional evidence. But we can catch him another way. He looked at me. Carol, I need to ask if you're willing to do something dangerous. I'm listening. We set up a sting. You tell Rebecca you're worried about your mental health, that you've been seeing things. You agree to a doctor's appointment that Mark suggests, except we'll control the doctor. We'll document that you're completely mentally sound. Then, you change your will in front of witnesses, leaving everything to a charity. Make sure Mark knows about it. I saw where he was going. If I'm no longer valuable to him, he'll have to act fast, before you finalize anything. And we'll be ready. It was a good plan. Except for one massive flaw: if you're wrong about the timing, I'll be dead. That's why I can't officially recommend this. But Carol, if we wait for him to move on his own timeline, he'll pick the perfect moment when we're not watching. At least this way, we control when and where he strikes. I looked at Barbara. She squeezed my hand. It's your choice, honey. But I think James is right. Men like Mark don't stop. Susan Tillman thought she was safe too. Susan Tillman. 32 years old. Stabbed 7 times in her own home while her husband was safely at a work conference, establishing his alibi. I thought of Rebecca, my beautiful daughter who'd been targeted by a monster. Who was either his accomplice or his next victim. Either way, I couldn't let this continue. I'll do it, I said. Tell me exactly what you need. The plan was simple but terrifying. Tomorrow, I'd call Rebecca and apologize for my paranoid accusations. I'd say I'd been under stress, that maybe I did need to see a doctor. I'd be vulnerable, confused, frightened, everything Mark wanted me to be. Detective Anderson would arrange for an independent psychiatric evaluation to document my mental competence. Then, I'd announce my intention to change my will, leaving my estate to various charities instead of Rebecca. Mark will have a 48-hour window before the new will is finalized, Detective Anderson explained. If he's going to act, it'll be then. We'll have plainclothes officers watching your house around the clock. We'll catch him or his hired killer in the act. And if he doesn't take the bait? I asked. Then we've bought you time and documented your mental competence, which will help if he tries to have you declared incompetent later. But Carol, I think he'll take the bait. Men like Mark can't help themselves when they see an opportunity slipping away. That night, I called my daughter. Mom? Rebecca sounded wary. Honey, I'm so sorry. I've been thinking about what you said, about seeing a doctor. Maybe you're right. Maybe I have been paranoid. Silence. Then, really? I've been under so much stress since your father died. Living alone, getting older. Maybe I'm seeing threats that aren't there. Could you recommend someone? A doctor? Oh, Mom. Her voice broke. I've been so worried about you. Yes, I'll find someone. Thank you for calling. Mark and I just want to help you. Mark and I. Like they were a unit. Like she'd fully aligned herself with him. I know, sweetie. I'm sorry I accused him of those things. I don't know what I was thinking. We talked for a few more minutes. She promised to set up an appointment. Told me how much she loved me. How glad she was that I was getting help. When I hung up, I felt dirty. I'd just lied to my daughter, made myself seem weak and confused, and set a trap that could get me killed. But I'd also seen a glimmer of something in Rebecca's voice. Relief. Genuine relief. Either she was relieved her mother wasn't really in danger, or she was relieved the plan was back on track. I still didn't know which. Barbara stayed with me that night. We locked every door and window. Detective Anderson had plainclothes officers watching the house from an unmarked van down the street. This is going to work, Barbara promised. You're going to be safe, and Mark is going to prison where he belongs. I wanted to believe her. But as I lay awake in my guest room, I kept thinking about Susan Tillman. 32 years old. Stabbed 7 times. With cops investigating her death afterward, looking for her killer, and never once suspecting the grieving husband with the perfect alibi. Mark Thompson had done this before. He knew how to get away with murder. The question was, did I know how to survive? Outside my window, a car drove slowly past. Too slowly. I sat up, heart pounding, and peered through the curtains. A gray Honda. Just like Mark's. It stopped 2 houses down. A figure got out. Tall. Male. Moving through shadows toward my fence line. I grabbed my phone to call Detective Anderson, but before I could dial, my screen lit up with a text. From Rebecca, "Are you alone tonight, Mom?" I stared at that message, sent at 11:15 at night, while someone was approaching my house. My daughter was checking if I was alone. While a killer moved through my yard. And that's when I knew the truth I'd been avoiding. Rebecca wasn't being manipulated. She was helping him. My own daughter wanted me dead. I didn't answer Rebecca's text. Instead, I called Detective Anderson. Someone's here. Gray Honda. Male figure approaching my backyard. And Rebecca just texted asking if I'm alone. Stay inside. Officers are moving in now. Through my window, I watched it unfold. The figure reached my fence. 2 plainclothes officers emerged from the unmarked van, weapons drawn. Police. Hands where we can see them. The figure bolted. He was fast, but not fast enough. They tackled him in my neighbor's yard. In the streetlight, I saw his face clearly. It wasn't Mark Thompson. It was a stranger, some kid, maybe 25, wearing clothes similar to what Mark wore. A hired gun. Just like Detective Anderson predicted. Within an hour, my house was full of police. The kid, his name was Tyler Brennan, was in custody. And he was talking, trying to cut a deal. Mark Thompson paid me $5,000 to break into this house, Tyler told Detective Anderson. Said it was his mother-in-law's place, that she had dementia, and she'd hidden some important documents. Said she'd fight me if she woke up, told me to defend myself if necessary. He gave me a crowbar and told me which window to use. Defend myself if necessary. That meant kill me if I resisted. Did Mark say why he couldn't get the documents himself? Detective Anderson asked. Said the old lady was paranoid about him, had some delusion he was trying to steal from her. He made it sound like I was helping protect family assets from a crazy person. I watched through the two-way glass as this kid, this stupid, greedy kid, explained how he'd been manipulated into attempted murder. Part of me felt sorry for him. But mostly I was furious that Mark had found someone dumb enough to be his weapon. What about the first break-in attempt? Detective Anderson pressed. 2 nights ago? That was me too. Same deal. Mark said get in, find documents in the home office, get out. But the old lady turned on her light and I ran. Mark was pissed, said I needed to finish the job. Finish the job. Murder me. And tonight? What were your instructions? Tyler hesitated. He said if she woke up, if she fought back, I should make sure she didn't call the cops. Said make it look like a robbery. Take jewelry, cash, mess up the house. He gave me an extra $2,000 to make sure the job was done right. Make sure the job was done right. That meant make sure I was dead. Detective Anderson came out of the interrogation room. We have enough to arrest Mark for conspiracy to commit murder, breaking and entering, and about 6 other charges. But Carol, I need you to do one more thing. What? Call Rebecca. Tell her you're okay, that the break-in was just a false alarm, a raccoon or something. Tell her you're still planning to see that doctor tomorrow and change your will. Keep her thinking everything is going according to plan. You want to arrest her too? He nodded grimly. Tyler says he was texting updates to a number. We traced it to a burner phone registered under a fake name, but the phone pinged off towers near your daughter's house. Someone there was coordinating this. If Rebecca is involved, I want her arrested alongside Mark. If she's innocent, we need to get her away from him before he uses her as a hostage or worse. I called my daughter at 1 in the morning. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. Mom? Are you okay? You didn't answer my text. I'm fine, sweetie. False alarm. I thought I heard something, but it was just a raccoon knocking over trash cans. I'm sorry I worried you. Oh, thank God. I was so scared. Mark and I were about to drive over. Mark and I. Always Mark and I, no need, honey. I'm actually feeling better about everything. I have that doctor's appointment tomorrow afternoon, and then I'm meeting with my lawyer to update some paperwork. Silence. Then, paperwork? Just updating my will. Nothing major. Your father and I made that will 20 years ago, and I think it's time to revisit my charitable giving. The animal shelter, the library, you know how I feel about those causes. More silence. Longer this time. You're changing your will? Her voice was tight. Just updating it. Making sure my affairs are in order. Isn't that what responsible adults do? Mom, we should talk about this. As your only child, I should be involved in these decisions. There it was. As your only child. Translation, I'm your heir, don't cut me out. We can talk about it this week, honey. Right now I need sleep. Love you. Love you too, Mom. I hung up and looked at Detective Anderson. She knows. She's definitely involved. We'll arrest them both tomorrow morning. Once you're at the doctor's office with protection, we'll move in. Carol, this is almost over. But it wasn't almost over. Because at 3 a.m., Rebecca called again. Mom, I need to tell you something. Her voice was strange. Flat. Can I come over? Right now? Every instinct screamed danger. Honey, it's 3 in the morning. I know. But I need to see you. Please. I need to tell you something about Mark. Detective Anderson was listening on speaker. He mouthed, say yes. Okay, sweetheart. Come over. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And Mom? I'm so sorry. For everything. She hung up. Detective Anderson immediately called his team. Rebecca Williams is on her way to Carol's house. She may be armed. She may be coming to finish what Tyler failed to do. Tactical positions, everyone. 10 minutes later, headlights appeared in my driveway. Rebecca's car. She got out alone, walked to my door, and knocked softly. I opened it with 3 officers positioned out of sight in my living room. Hi, Mom. Rebecca looked terrible, eyes red, face pale, hands trembling. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked past me into the kitchen, and that's when I saw it, her right hand in her jacket pocket, holding something. Rebecca. Detective Anderson stepped into view, gun drawn. Put your hands where I can see them. She spun around, eyes wide. What's happening? Hands out of your pockets. Now. Slowly, Rebecca pulled her right hand out. She was holding her phone. Just her phone. Rebecca Williams, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Detective Anderson moved forward with handcuffs. What? No. I came to warn her. Rebecca looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Mom, Mark's going to kill you. I figured it out. That's why I'm here. I was going to tell you everything, save it, Detective Anderson said. We have Tyler Brennan in custody. We know about the burner phone. We know you were coordinating the break-ins. Burner phone? I don't know what you're talking about. She struggled as he cuffed her. Mom, please, you have to believe me. I didn't know until tonight. I found his laptop, I saw the files about his first wife, about you, about the money. I came here to warn you. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe my daughter was innocent, that she'd finally seen the truth and come to save me. But then Detective Anderson held up her phone. This phone pinged the same towers as the burner phone coordinating Tyler's attacks. You want to explain that? Rebecca's face crumpled. He borrowed my phone. Last night and the night before. Said his battery died. I didn't know what he was doing with it. It was plausible. But was it true? Mom, please. Rebecca was sobbing now. I know how this looks. But I swear, I didn't know. Mark told me you were getting paranoid, that you needed help. He showed me articles about early onset dementia. He said the kindest thing was to make sure you were safe before you hurt yourself. I believed him. I called every night because he said it was important to document your mental state, to show you were living alone without supervision. I thought I was helping you. She looked so much like the little girl who used to cry when she found injured birds. The teenager who'd stayed up with me when Henry died, holding my hand through the grief. But she also looked like a liar caught in a trap. If you're innocent, I said quietly, why did you ask if I was alone tonight right when Tyler was breaking in? Because Mark asked me to. He said he wanted to drop off some groceries for you, wanted to make sure you weren't entertaining guests this late. Mom, he used me. He used my concern for you to help him try to kill you. Detective Anderson pulled her toward the door. We'll sort this out at the station. Carol, you should try to get some rest. We'll need your statement in the morning. As they took my daughter away in handcuffs, she looked back at me one more time. I love you, Mom. And I'm sorry. Whatever you think of me, please know I love you. I watched them drive away. Barbara appeared at my side. Do you believe her? I don't know, I whispered. I don't know anything anymore. But I was about to learn the truth. And it was worse than I could have imagined. The next morning, I sat in Detective Anderson's office watching surveillance footage. They'd arrested Mark at 5 a.m. His reaction when they came through the door was not what I expected. He smiled. Gentlemen, Mark said to the officers, calm as anything. I've been expecting you. I assume my wife called you with her delusional accusations? Your wife is in custody for conspiracy to commit murder, Detective Anderson told him. Mark's smile faltered. Just for a second. Then he recovered. Rebecca is in custody? For what? They showed him the evidence. Tyler Brennan's testimony. The burner phone pings near his house. The documents about Susan Tillman's death. The timeline found in my home office. Mark listened to all of it, then said, I want my lawyer. For 3 hours, he sat in interrogation saying nothing. His lawyer, some expensive shark from Hartford, whispered in his ear while Detective Anderson laid out the case. Finally, Mark leaned forward. Let me tell you what really happened. My wife, Rebecca, is mentally unstable. She's been obsessed with her mother's money since we got married. She convinced me to move near Carol, insisted on those nightly calls, begged me to help her access Carol's finances. I refused. So she took my phone, used it to contact this Tyler person, and tried to frame me. When I discovered what she was doing, I came to you. You came to us? Detective Anderson raised an eyebrow. We came to you. I was about to. This morning. I have documentation. His lawyer slid a folder across the table. Inside, printed emails allegedly from Rebecca discussing her mother's money, text messages about inheritance, even a journal entry supposedly written by Rebecca detailing her frustration that I wouldn't die fast enough. These are fake, Detective Anderson said. Prove it, Mark's lawyer replied. I watched this through the two-way glass, sick to my stomach. Mark had prepared for this contingency too. He'd created evidence framing Rebecca. He's going to blame her for everything, Barbara said beside me. He's going to make her take the fall. Detective Anderson came out of interrogation. The journal is fake, paper is wrong, ink dating will prove it was written recently, not over 2 years. The texts can be faked. The emails route through a proxy server that Mark has access to. But it's going to take time to prove all this. And Mark knows it. What about Rebecca? I asked. She's sticking to her story. Says she knew nothing until last night. Says Mark manipulated her, used her phone without her knowledge, gaslit her into thinking you were senile. Carol, I believe her. But believing her and proving it are different things. What happens now? We charge them both. Let a jury decide. But I'm going to be honest with you, Mark is sophisticated. He's done this before. He knows how to create reasonable doubt. And right now, he's successfully making Rebecca look like the mastermind while he's the innocent husband. That's not acceptable, I said. I know. But unless we can find something that definitively proves Mark's guilt and Rebecca's innocence, they're both going down. Or worse, he walks and she takes all the blame. I thought about my daughter sobbing in handcuffs, swearing she didn't know. I thought about Susan Tillman, Mark's first wife, stabbed 7 times while he established his alibi. I thought about Tyler Brennan saying Mark had paid him, coached him, given him specific instructions. And I thought about one thing that didn't fit: if Rebecca was the mastermind, why would she come to my house at 3 a.m. to warn me? I need to see my daughter, I said. Detective Anderson hesitated. Are you sure that's a good idea? I'm sure. They brought Rebecca to a private room. She looked terrible, hadn't slept, still wearing the clothes from last night, mascara streaked down her face. When she saw me, she started crying again. Mom, I swear I didn't know. You have to believe me. I sat across from her, studied her face. This was my baby. The girl I'd raised, the woman I thought I knew. Tell me about the phone calls, I said. Why every night? Why did you need to know if I was alone? Mark said it was for your safety. He said you were showing signs of cognitive decline, that you might fall or have an accident, and if you were alone no one would find you in time. He said documenting your isolation would help if we needed to get medical intervention. Mom, he made it sound like love. Like care. And you believed him? He's my husband. He's a property manager, he deals with elderly tenants. He said he'd seen this before. He showed me articles about how families miss the signs. He made me feel like a bad daughter for not noticing sooner. She wiped her eyes. And I guess part of me wanted to believe something was wrong with you, because the alternative was that I'd married a monster. That rang true. Painfully true. What about the night of the first break-in? When Tyler tried to get in my window? Mark borrowed my phone that night. Said his was dead, he needed to call his business partner. I didn't think anything of it. But that must be when he was texting Tyler, coordinating the attack. And last night? When you texted asking if I was alone right when Tyler was approaching? Rebecca closed her eyes. Mark asked me to text you. He was standing right there. He said, ask your mom if she's alone tonight. I want to drop off those groceries but I don't want to interrupt if she has company. I sent the text. Mom, I sent the text that almost got you killed. She was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. I helped him. Even if I didn't know, I helped him try to murder you. How do I live with that? I reached across the table and took her hand. If you're telling the truth, if you really didn't know, then you're a victim too. Mark targeted you because of me. He manipulated you. Used your love for me as a weapon. Do you believe me? I looked into my daughter's eyes. The same eyes that had looked up at me when she was 5 years old, asking if I'd catch her when she jumped off the swing. The same eyes that had shone with joy when she told me she was getting married, believing she'd finally found happiness. I believe you, I said. And I'm going to prove it. Proving Rebecca's innocence meant proving Mark's guilt beyond any doubt. That night, I did something risky. I called Mark's business partner, Dave Harrison. Dave had given a toast at their wedding. He'd seemed friendly, genuine. If Mark had a weak spot, maybe Dave was it. Mrs. Williams? Dave sounded surprised when I called. Is everything okay? Have you heard Mark was arrested? Silence. Then, yeah. I heard. Look, I don't want to get involved, Dave, I need to know something. Did Mark ever mention his first wife? Long pause. Susan? Yes. What did he tell you about her? That she died in a break-in. That it destroyed him. That he moved here to start over. Dave's voice was cautious. Why? Because I think Mark killed her. And I think he was trying to kill me too. I heard Dave's sharp intake of breath. That's insane. Is it? Dave, you work with him. You know him. Has he ever said anything at all, that made you uncomfortable? Silence. Long enough that I thought he'd hung up. Then, there was one thing. About 6 months ago, Mark asked me about life insurance. Specifically, how to structure policies to maximize payouts. He said it was for a client, but we don't handle insurance, we do property management. When I asked more, he changed the subject. What else? He asked me to lie for him. Said if anyone asked, I should say he was with me the night of October 30th. Offered me $5,000. I said no, told him I don't do alibis. He laughed it off, said he was joking. But Mrs. Williams, he wasn't joking. This was it. Proof that Mark had tried to establish a false alibi. Dave, would you testify to this? If it helps catch a murderer? Yeah. I'll testify. With Dave's testimony, Tyler Brennan's statement, and the forensic evidence proving Mark's documents framing Rebecca were fake, the case against Mark strengthened. But Detective Anderson wanted more. We need something that directly connects Mark to Susan Tillman's death. If we can show a pattern, that he's done this before, it'll destroy his credibility. I knew what I had to do. I called Susan Tillman's family. Her sister, Jennifer, answered. When I explained who I was and why I was calling, she broke down. We always knew Mark killed her, Jennifer sobbed. But the police said there was no evidence. He had an alibi. Susan's death was ruled a random burglary. But Susan told me, 2 weeks before she died, that Mark had been asking about her life insurance. That he'd suggested she increase her policy for security. She thought he was being responsible. I thought it was suspicious. Did you tell the police? I did. They said lots of husbands discuss insurance with their wives. It wasn't evidence of anything. After Mark moved away and changed his name, we lost track of him. I've spent 10 years wondering if he'd do it again. And now you're telling me he almost did. Jennifer, would you be willing to testify about what Susan told you? Absolutely. If it puts that bastard away, I'll testify to anything that helps. Between Dave Harrison's statement about the fake alibi, Jennifer's testimony about Susan's concerns, and the forensic evidence proving Mark had fabricated documents to frame Rebecca, we had a case. But Mark had one more card to play. His lawyer filed a motion claiming Rebecca had abused and manipulated Mark throughout their marriage. They produced evidence, photos of scratches on Mark's arms, probably self-inflicted, texts where Rebecca supposedly berated him, likely faked, even a recording of an argument where Rebecca's voice said, "I wish your mother would just die already so we could get that money." The recording was convincing. Too convincing. It's AI generated, the forensic audio expert testified. Someone used voice sampling from Rebecca's real speech patterns to create fake dialogue. It's sophisticated, but there are digital artifacts that prove manipulation. The walls were closing in on Mark. But he still had his charm, his smooth explanations, his ability to make himself look like the victim. Until the prosecutor asked him one simple question during a preliminary hearing, "Mr. Thompson, if you believed your wife was dangerous and plotting against her mother, why didn't you come to the police?" Mark smiled his easy smile. "I was scared. Rebecca can be volatile. I was gathering evidence before, you were scared? Yet you offered your business partner $5,000 to lie about your whereabouts on October 30th. Why would an innocent man need a false alibi?" Mark's smile vanished. We have testimony from Dave Harrison. Under oath. Are you calling him a liar? I was joking with Dave. He misunderstood, and Jennifer Marks, Susan Tillman's sister, will testify that her sister expressed concerns about you increasing her life insurance shortly before her death. Similar to how you researched life insurance with your business partner before attempting to murder Mrs. Williams. Quite a coincidence. Mark's lawyer stood. Objection. Prejudicial. But the damage was done. The judge set bail at $2 million, which Mark couldn't make, and ordered both defendants held until trial. As they led Mark out in handcuffs, he looked at me one time. No smile now. Just cold, dead eyes. "You should have just died," he said quietly. "It would have been easier for everyone." That's when I knew for certain, Rebecca had been telling the truth. Because Mark looked at her with disgust, not love. She was a tool that had broken. Nothing more. The truth about Rebecca, the whole truth, came out 3 days before the trial. And it changed everything I thought I knew. Detective Anderson called me to the station. "Carol, we need to talk about your daughter." My stomach dropped. "What about her?" "We've been going through Mark's computer, his files, everything. And we found something. Carol, Rebecca isn't who you think she is." He slid a folder across the table. Inside, medical records. Psychiatric evaluations. Police reports from 12 years ago. "Rebecca had a mental breakdown when she was 26, Detective Anderson said gently. Right after her divorce from Kevin. She was hospitalized for 6 weeks with severe depression and suicidal ideation. Did you know this?" I stared at the documents. "No." "She told me she stayed with friends after the divorce. That she needed space. She was at Cedar Valley Psychiatric Hospital. Kevin had her committed after she tried to overdose. Carol, your daughter was very sick. And Mark knew about it. He specifically targeted her because of this vulnerability." I felt like I'd been punched. "She tried to kill herself?" "She was in crisis. But she recovered, went to therapy, got on medication. She's been stable for 11 years. Until Mark came into her life." Detective Anderson showed me more documents. Mark had researched Rebecca extensively before approaching her. He knew about her breakdown, her medication, her financial situation, and most importantly, he knew about me. Mark didn't just find Rebecca randomly on a dating app, Detective Anderson explained. He searched for women with specific criteria: previously married, mental health history, wealthy parent, living alone. He found Rebecca's profile, researched her family, discovered you were a widow with significant assets. Then he created a fake profile designed to appeal to her specifically. Every interest he claimed to have, hiking, classic movies, came from Rebecca's own profile. He manufactured the perfect match. I thought about Rebecca's excitement on that first phone call. We talked for 4 hours. He really listened. Of course he listened. He'd studied her. He knew exactly what to say. But here's what's crucial, Carol. Mark kept detailed notes on his computer about manipulating Rebecca. Entries like, are now fully convinced her mother has dementia. Suggested she increase monitoring, she agreed immediately. The guilt makes her compliant. And this one, ours medication makes her suggestible. Can push her to believe C is declining without much resistance. I felt sick. Mark hadn't just used Rebecca. He'd specifically exploited her mental health history to manipulate her. There's more, Detective Anderson said. We found journal entries, real ones this time, not the fakes Mark tried to plant. Rebecca's actual journal. She wrote about her confusion, her doubts about you, her guilt for believing Mark over you. Carol, read this entry from a week ago. He handed me a printed page. Rebecca's handwriting. I'd recognize it anywhere. I don't know what's real anymore. Mark says Mom is sick, but when I see her she seems fine. He says I'm not recognizing the symptoms because I'm too close to the situation. He showed me videos of people with dementia, how they can seem normal 1 minute and confused the next. I want to believe Mom is okay, but what if I'm in denial? What if Mark is right and I'm letting my mother deteriorate because I can't face the truth? I feel like I'm losing my mind. The only thing I'm sure of is that Mark loves me, that he's trying to help both Mom and me. I have to trust him. I have to believe someone knows what's real because I don't anymore. Tears ran down my face as I read my daughter's words. She hadn't known. She'd been manipulated so skillfully that she doubted her own perceptions, her own mother, her own reality. Mark is a psychological predator, Detective Anderson said. He uses people's vulnerabilities against them. Susan Tillman's vulnerability was loneliness after her parents died. Rebecca's vulnerability was her mental health history. He finds the cracks and exploits them. So Rebecca really is innocent? Completely. In fact, she's a victim of psychological abuse. The prosecutor is dropping all charges against her. Mark will face trial alone for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, and about 15 other charges. We're also reopening Susan Tillman's case with this new evidence. I sagged in my chair, relief flooding through me. My daughter hadn't betrayed me. She'd been used as a weapon against me by a monster who saw both of us as nothing more than dollar signs. Can I see her? I asked. She's waiting outside. Carol, she's been asking to see you every day. She's terrified you hate her. They brought Rebecca in. She looked fragile, broken. When she saw me, she started crying immediately. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He told me you were sick. He showed me articles, videos, he had explanations for everything. And I believed him because I loved him, because I trusted him, because I'm so stupid. You're not stupid. I pulled her into my arms. You're not stupid. He's evil. He studied you, he found your weak spots, and he exploited them. This isn't your fault. I helped him try to kill you. You tried to help me by monitoring my safety. He twisted that into something else. Rebecca, you came to warn me at 3 in the morning. You risked everything to save me once you knew the truth. That's who you are. Not the person he tried to make you. We held each other and cried. My daughter. My miracle baby. Who'd almost been destroyed by a man who saw her only as a tool. I'm going to get help, Rebecca whispered. Real help. Therapy, medication management, everything. I won't let him break me. You're already stronger than he thought, I told her. You survived him. That's something Susan Tillman didn't get to do. And I meant it. Because Rebecca had done something crucial, she'd questioned, she'd investigated, and ultimately, she'd chosen to save me even when she wasn't sure what was real. That took courage. That took strength. That took love. Mark Thompson's trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified. Rebecca testified. Dave Harrison testified. Jennifer Marks flew in from Michigan to testify about her sister Susan's death. Tyler Brennan, looking for a reduced sentence, testified about every detail of Mark's instructions. The forensic evidence was damning. The fake documents Mark created to frame Rebecca were proven false. His computer files showed years of planning, research on how to get away with murder, detailed notes on manipulating Rebecca. Most damning of all, police in Michigan reopened Susan Tillman's case. They found the man who'd actually killed her, a career criminal who died in prison 3 years ago. In his belongings, a letter from M.T. offering $20,000 for a job in Grand Rapids. DNA evidence put this man at Susan's house. Phone records showed calls between his phone and a burner phone registered under a fake name, a burner phone purchased in the same store where Mark bought the one used to coordinate my attack. Mark Thompson had murdered his first wife and tried to murder me using the exact same method: hire someone else, establish an airtight alibi, play the grieving victim. But he'd made one mistake this time: he'd underestimated both Rebecca and me. On the stand, Mark tried his charm one last time. He claimed he was innocent, that Rebecca had manipulated everything, that I was a vindictive mother-in-law who'd never accepted him. The jury didn't buy it. They deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As they led him away, Mark looked at Rebecca one final time. "I loved you," he said. "Whatever you believe, I actually loved you." Rebecca looked him straight in the eye. "No, you didn't. You loved my mother's money. You didn't even see me as a person. But I see you now, Mark. And you're going to spend the rest of your life in a cage knowing that the 2 women you tried to destroy are still here, still standing, still alive." It was the most powerful thing I'd ever heard my daughter say. After the trial, Rebecca moved back to my neighborhood. Not with me, she needed her own space, her own life. But close enough that we could rebuild what Mark had tried to destroy. She went to therapy twice a week. Adjusted her medications. Started journaling again, real journaling, not the fake entries Mark had planted. "I'm learning to trust my own perceptions again," she told me over coffee 3 months after the trial. "Mark made me doubt everything I saw, everything I felt. He'd tell me I was remembering things wrong, seeing things that weren't there. He rewired my brain to accept his version of reality over my own. Undoing that is hard." "But you're doing it," I said. "You're healing. We both are." She smiled, a real smile this time, not the forced ones from the last 2 years. "Mom, I know I'll never fully forgive myself for those phone calls, for confirming you were alone, for helping him even though I didn't know I was helping him. But I'm learning to live with it. And I promise you, I will never, ever let anyone manipulate me like that again." I believed her. My daughter was stronger than Mark had calculated. We both were. Barbara became an even closer friend after everything. "You know," she said one afternoon as we walked through the neighborhood, "if you'd answered Rebecca's text that night, if you'd confirmed you were alone, you might not be here." I know. That lie saved my life. Your instincts saved your life. You knew something was wrong even before you had proof. That's a mother's love. You felt the danger because you know your daughter, and you knew something was off. Maybe she was right. Maybe some part of me had always sensed that Rebecca's nightly calls weren't normal concern. That they had an edge of anxiety that didn't fit. Or maybe I'd just gotten lucky. Either way, I was alive. Rebecca was free. And Mark Thompson was in prison where he belonged. 6 months after the trial, Rebecca called me at 9:30 p.m. My heart jumped. Old habits die hard. "Hi, Mom," she said. "I just wanted to check in. See how your day was." "My day was good, honey. How was yours?" "Really good, actually. I started teaching a class at the hospital, helping new nurses develop patient assessment skills. It felt good to be useful again." We talked for 20 minutes about her work, my book club, Barbara's grandson who was visiting. Normal things. Mother-daughter things. She didn't ask if I was alone. She'd never ask that question again. As we said goodbye, Rebecca added, "Mom? Thank you for believing me. Even when the evidence looked bad, even when you had every reason to think I'd betrayed you, you believed me. That saved me as much as your lie about Barbara coming over saved your life." "You're my daughter," I said simply. "I know you. And I know love." Mark understood neither. After we hung up, I sat in my living room, the same room where Mark had walked through appraising my home, the same room where I'd made the decision to fight back, and felt grateful. Grateful to be alive. Grateful my daughter was free. Grateful for Barbara's friendship and Detective Anderson's dedication. But most of all, grateful that when Rebecca asked me if I was alone that terrible October night, some instinct had made me lie. That lie had saved my life. But telling my daughter the truth afterward, that I believed her, that I loved her, that Mark had manipulated us both, that truth had saved hers. And in the end, truth and love had defeated Mark Thompson's carefully constructed lies. My daughter still calls me regularly. Sometimes during the day, sometimes in the evening. But never at 9:30 p.m. That time belongs to our past now, to the woman we were when we were both trapped in Mark's web. Now when Rebecca calls, she asks me about my day, my plans, my life. She tells me about hers. We talk about movies and books and the weather and all the small, beautiful, ordinary things that make up a life. She never asks if I'm alone. Because she knows the only thing that matters is that we're both still here, still standing, still together. And that's worth more than any inheritance Mark Thompson ever wanted to steal.